We are discussing C.S. Lewis.
He's like the number one quoted non-member of the church in general conference ever.
If C.S. Lewis had an Instagram today, people would be smashing that like button. Easy.
Do you guys think he would accept baptism for his life?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Saints Unscripted. I'm here with my co-hosts Sabrina and Caitlin, and we are super excited to take you today to Narnia. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are discussing C.S. Lewis.
I want to go to Narnia.
It's been so long since I've seen those movies / read those books.
I could go for some of the Danishes that the Queen gives.
The Turkish Delight.
There we go. That's
Nothing
the one.
looked more scrumptious than that.
That is so true. That is like a very significant treat
moment.
from our childhood.
That is.
But they're not that good.
That's what I've heard.
They're not that good.
She made them look so good, though.
Oh, yeah.
They're called Turkish Delights, but are they British?
I don't know.
I shouldn't go anywhere because this is just going to end with me saying
I think they are
British pastries.
Turkish Delights are British, I think. But
and C.S.
why
Lewis
are we
is
talking
British.
about C.S. Lewis today?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Maybe because
kind of random.
He's like the number one quoted non-member of the church in general conference ever.
Indeed. I think he's
Why?
up to like 30, maybe 40
Yeah.
general conference citations.
Including Elder Holland.
And the
and
big
a lot of
question
other
is
people.
why? Let's open it up for discussion.
Why? I think, well, first of all, he wasn't always a Christian.
Yeah, because he was born in Ireland, and then his family was Irish. Like
the only word I know
Irish
is Anglican.
Catholic?
Were they?
I don't remember. Oh, I read this.
He was.
They were part of whatever was the most prominent religion in Ireland at the time. And
Mhm.
then he became atheist, actually, when he was like a teenager. And
He described himself as an atheist, yes.
and then that all changed when he actually was friends with J.R. Tolkien.
Yeah.
And he was religious, I believe. J.R. Tolkien was
Do me
part
and
of
Sabrina
the
know
Church
anything
of...
about J.R. Tolkien?
I did read this a little bit, but I don't remember.
Yeah, he was friends with him and associates with him. And I think that's what kind of started that. Or at least that's what I read on Wikipedia.
Great.
Yeah. So, but you had
Unfortunately,
something
we can't
interesting
ask
to
him.
say about that when we were talking about this before. I really liked how you shared your thoughts.
Yeah, I really did too.
Because he did not come into Christianity just like looking for it. He kind of came kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting part, C.S. Lewis wrote his autobiography for the first 30 years and included in it his conversion story. And one part of that is interesting is when he was looking at Christianity, he noticed it shares many of its themes with other religions, lots of the world's religions, particularly that there is a deity, comes down to earth, takes upon them the form of a human, like a man or woman, and then in some stories dies for the people or returns to wherever they came from. And a lot of detractors of modern religion point to the connections that religion has, saying they're all from the same story or all from the same idea, and use that as a way to detract against it. C.S. Lewis saw that and said, I believe that this is all the original truth. Like the story of our Savior coming down, our God taking flesh, dying for us and returning. The reason those themes are found in so many religions is because this is the world's original truth, like our first religion, what God taught us when we were in our infancy as a species. And I thought that was a cool perspective change.
And you know what's interesting? He, in the Chronicles of Narnia, he built this world, right? It's like a world separate of our world. And in that world, there is that story as well, found in Aslan. Is that how we say his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aslan, he's like this Christ figure in Narnia where he is innocent or like without fault and is killed. And then that stone breaks, or like you could think of it as like the tomb is empty, right? And then he's gone, and the Susan and what's her name?
The younger sister?
The two sisters, Lucy and Susan and Lucy are there, which is also kind of cool because like a woman is the first one that saw Jesus.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that was
good
kind
point.
of cool. But he's gone, right? So the stone is cracked, and then Aslan's gone, and then he appears, and he's kind of like resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean that part's really powerful in the story of Narnia. And if you think about C.S. Lewis believing this is like the origin story of this deity coming down.
Ooh, I see where you're going
that
with this.
in
I like
his
it.
in this world that he created, that it has that as well, because it's like the center of life.
Yeah. This is just a quote. C.S. Lewis boldly refused to accept the impotent position of Jesus as merely a great moral teacher. Jesus of Nazareth was either a god, a liar, or a madman. Only two views of this man are possible, he noted. Either he was a raving lunatic of an unusually abominable type, or else he was and is precisely what he said. There is no middle way. So I love that he found this conviction, that it just made so much sense to him about who Christ was, that he was and is, in fact, God.
That's a really strong quote.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit before, about why we like him so much. And our producer pointed out, he writes in stories. C.S. Lewis, Screw Tape Letters, Great Divorce. There's lots of stories to illustrate points. And he wrote a whole series to illustrate points about our Savior Jesus Christ and other parts of Christianity, Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
And that's why we love the Savior's teachings, because he taught with stories. And
yeah. And he's so quotable. He just has so many sound bites, just very 1 to 2 sentence, easily shared. I mean, we love that. You know, we love to engrave that on pillows as members of the church and put it on our walls and put it on our Pinterest and make memes. And, you know,
if C.S. Lewis had an Instagram today, people would be smashing that like button. Easy.
He'd be TikTok famous and everything. Yeah. He had a radio show. Did you guys
know that? I did not know that.
During World War II, he had a Christian-based radio show.
Wow.
So
people listened to.
He probably would have been on the platforms. He was already on the edge of technology there.
Yep.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think those like one-liner quotable things, they're fun and they're cute to like write and see, but also they kind of stick in your head a little bit longer than anything that's more detailed or difficult to understand. They kind of just like it, and I think that's why maybe at General Conference he's quoted so often, because that helps the listener think, okay, what was this talk about? And you're like, oh, I remember that quote, and it brings you back to the whole like topic of it. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that even though, you know, he was Anglican for most of his life, his quotes and the things he said were meant to make sense for a general Christian audience. But especially for members of our faith, like we feel like we resonate so much with what he says. And it's just interesting because he wasn't a member of the church, and he probably, we don't know what opinions he had about our faith. It was so new during his life. Like he was alive during the first like 100 years of our religion after it was established. And I think the only comment he made was that he just didn't think that religion should prohibit people from like consuming coffee or something like that, like a substance. But we really don't know what his opinions were on our religion. But it's just interesting that he was inspired enough to say so many things that just we really resonate with. Like when I read Mere Christianity, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
I was like, this man like knows what he's talking about. Like he gets it, you know?
His goals, like you were saying, were to appeal to a wide, I don't think his goals were to appeal wide denomination of Christianity, but by focusing on the bare principles of Christianity, he therefore appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, I was going to say that it seems like a lot of those things that really stick out, like in Mere Christianity, a lot of those things relate to the basic, like fundamental doctrines that we believe in.
Things about our relationship with God, our Savior, forgiveness, the atonement of Jesus Christ, the resurrection. And maybe that's a reminder for us to also like focus on those elements, because there's so much truth and power in those teachings.
So we love C.S. Lewis, even though he wasn't a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he's quoted in General Conference by members of our faith, even though he's not a member of our faith. What's pretty cool about that is, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are excited about accepting and finding truth in other religions as well. I think that we are not the only holders of truth, right?
Yeah.
That there is wonderful and beautiful testimonies about the Savior outside of our faith that we can learn from and add to our testimonies.
So often we start off with these paraphrasing, but it's great. Is that bring the truth you know and love, the truth that you have learned, and let us add to it. Like that's what the restored gospel is. People have learned truth about Jesus Christ. C.S. Lewis is a great example of someone who clearly understood a lot of the truths about the Savior. And the church's mission is, let's build on those truths. There's more that God still reveals and wants to reveal to us. So take what you love, take what you know, and let's build on that.
Yeah. I love that.
Do you guys think that he would accept baptism after this life.
It's crazy. In his
I
book, The
mean-
Great Divorce, he talks about someone who gets to the other side and their idea of what the afterlife is like and the plan of salvation was not as they expected, so they rejected it. So I would have to think
Whoa.
the fact that he
Yeah.
could recognize that, C.S. Lewis would seek truth about the Savior regardless of
I think so too.
whether he was
Yeah.
right or wrong about certain aspects, as I hope we all would.
Yeah.
My answer is yes.
Guess we'll see. Have you guys ever thought about that?
Find out
get
next
to the
time
other
on
side and
The
meet famous
Afterlife.
people and be like,
we'll-
will those famous people be famous on the other side?
Yeah.
Like, I always
Hopefully
wondered,
not.
like, what if I met Robert Downey Jr., like, in the afterlife? Would I be like, oh my gosh, it's Robert Downey Jr.?
RDJ,
Yes, he's my favorite. I would just say.
if not
He's my
in this
favorite.
life, in
He's
the
one. He's a
next.
famous person I really want to meet. So that would be really cool. But of course, C.S. Lewis as well. Sorry.
Maybe there's a Make-A-Wish for adults.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how about
RDJ,
Can I use my cancer card? I
get
totally
this?
should.
You guys get this to Robert Downey Jr.
ASAP. Blow
If
this
you're
video
out there.
up.
Help me find him.
Anyways, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And while you're here, watch this video. Bye.